Hey everybody, it is Tim Whittemore here, your local expert and enthusiastic professional, here chatting with the Whittemore Group here today. So what I want to talk to y'all about today is keeping emotion out of a deal and how to do that. Well, to answer it simply, you can't. Guys, you can't do it. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I don't like this. This isn't far enough up. There we go. That looks a lot better. I feel better now. Oh, wait. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of real life examples that I had as a buyer. One of which is when I purchased my first home, I decided, even as a real estate professional, that I should probably have somebody else represent me. So I still did everything that I needed to do for that. And during the negotiation process, I actually had the listing agent call me directly, not my realtor at all, but just call me directly and then try to go buddy-buddy with me and go, hey, I can't get this guy to figure out what closing cost assistance is. There's just no way that he's going to do that. Can we take that away? And I was just, as a buyer, I'm like, I really want this home. I don't want this to fall through. All the emotions in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, no, okay, I get that. I guess I'll pay full list price and pay my own closing cost. You know what? The guy was playing me. And honestly, if I wasn't a real estate agent, he could have just simply if I wasn't a real estate agent and he called me as a buyer from the listing agent, that is completely and utterly unethical to do so and would get his wrist slapped. But because it wasn't, went ahead and went that and played dirty. And I was emotionally, as a buyer, was like, oh, okay. And then sure enough, got me to go ahead and pay my own closing costs. Not only that, this dude also calls back, was like, oh, my assistant, yeah, they inputted the commission for the buyers wrong. It's no longer, we'll just say 2.5%. She meant to put in 2. Oh yeah, clerical error. It should be fine. So the guy not only got me to take away my own, had to pay my own closing costs, which was like $5,000. He also took money out of my pocket for being a real estate agent that initially I would have gotten paid out. Some unethical, crazy BS. And I still kick myself to this day. Very expensive lesson. I'm going to give you one more example. So it's been a year, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't necessarily need to have somebody else on the other side as I'm purchasing another property because I'm representing this other guy. Okay, yeah, no worries. So I actually went through and I had what I considered a pretty fair deal and sat across the table and was like, here's everything that we've got. Everything should be good to go. And the seller himself seemed like everything was all right, and then just trying to deal with his objections and having skin in the game, not just being a representative of either side, I ended up giving up some of my commission and ended up moving some other fees that were in there, such as like a home warranty. Now, normally, if I was negotiating without an emotional investment, I would have ended up with a lot better deal. But because I did and I was emotionally invested, ended up giving up money. And you're going to do that every single time. If you're thinking about selling your house by yourself and not having representation, know that at the end of the day, your emotions are going to take over and you're not going to get the best deal. I don't care how stone cold that you think that you are, or you think that you can John Wayne your way through that. It's not going to work. I can tell you from experience. We are all human beings, okay? Also, when buying, there's 5 things, and of course I did a little research here, that you need to pay attention to as well when making an emotional decision on purchasing a house. Now, there is emotion involved. We've already discerned that is an issue, but here's some things to keep in the back of your mind to go, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this. Okay, so number one is is looking for a better deal. So you go out there, you find the house, you're super excited, woo, everything's going great. They're like, yeah, let's put it in an offer for this. And then you're like, but I feel like I could get something much better. Guys, I'm telling you, if it feels right, it meets 85 to 95% of what you said that you were looking for, that's the one to go with. If you're always looking for that diamond in the rough, it's just not going to be there. And it's so small of a chance that you're going to find that you know, it's going to be gone, because we have investors. I'm looking for my investors all the time, that as soon as something pops up, I mean, we've got a deal already in. It's usually cash and is gone, right? The other one is falling in love at first sight. Now, that sounds romantic at all, but when you're purchasing this big of a house, we want to make sure that it meets the needs that you have. So something super pretty, it's staged super nice, and you're like, oh man, I could see myself in this. This is what we want to go with. Well, make sure to take a step back and go, okay, well, does it have the things that I want? Does it have the dual vanities that we need, so that me and my significant other aren't like at each other's throat in the morning trying to get in there? Those are some things that you really need to think about. Don't overpay for perfection. That's number 3. Number 3 is don't overpay for perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are things that you could do a little bit yourself. You don't need a brand new home if your price budget isn't dictating that. Know that you're going to get a better investment for a house that's already lived in. It's just, that's what we see in our market. You can always put new floors down. You can always put up brand new paint. If there's a new kitchen, you can always renovate it. Don't end up paying tens of thousands of dollars more for that, when you could simply just get it done and just wait a little longer. So don't expect perfection. What in this world is perfect? I want you to answer that. So leave that in the comment section below. I'm really interested to see what you got. All right, number 4 is equating a short sale and a foreclosure as a deal. I'm going to say that again. Equating a short sale and foreclosure as a deal. Guys, they're not all deals. Sometimes they're pieces of crap, and more times than less they are, and they're being sold as is, which means that they're not going to fix anything either. So those aren't always a deal. Make sure that if you do get into that you're doing the applicable inspections and know what you're getting into. This house could then turn into a money pit, and you're spending a lot more on fees and fixing the roof and all this stuff later, when quite honestly, you could have just found something down the street that you could have paid a little bit more at the beginning. Now, this is something that Zig Ziglar told me, and well, told everybody, I guess. Didn't tell me, but he told me on an audiobook that said, you know, it's a lot better to pay a little bit more than you anticipated than a little bit less than you should. Yeah. The other one is, and the final one is number 5, is lowballing instead of negotiating realistically. Now, if you have a good buyer's agent or a good listing agent, well, in this case, it's a buyer's agent, you're going to want to listen to some of the advice that they have if they can legally give you so. They're going to set expectations of what the market is and what you can anticipate putting in, whether you're a cash deal, whether you're you know, your financing, what type of financing that you're doing, and how many people are going after it. Don't lowball. I'll educate you this on it now. So really, when you put in an offer, if you've never put in an offer before, and even if you have, this is good review. The seller has 3 different things that they can do. They can accept it, which is what you want. Number 2 is they can outright reject it. Now, it's an emotional thing. That's what we're talking about today, is emotion. So if the seller goes through and they see something that was listed for $200,000 and it's $40,000 off the list price, they're going to go, absolutely not, and take it as a personal insult. Even though this is business, they're going to take it as an emotional, personal insult. Do you think that they're going to counter back with you? Absolutely not. They're going to reject it, and any further offers that you bring in, they're probably not going to answer to based out of spite, because we are people and we're emotional beings. So don't do that. Don't lowball. Listen to what the market is saying. Listen to what the interpretation of that is, so that when you actually go in and be like, okay, I'm willing to pay up to X amount, what's a good starting point? What can we realistically get away with to get the best terms and the best deal and to close in the best amount of time? What am I working with? Make sure to get a real estate professional to walk you through those and what's more realistic than not. Well, those are some things to consider when purchasing a home, and also some other insights on actually selling a home. So my answer to you is, I'm going to remove that. How to keep emotions out of buying or purchasing a home? You can't. You just can't do it, guys. Make sure that you've got somebody else out there that has an objective opinion. Hopefully it's your real estate agent, but if you're doing this on your own, make sure that somebody else is out there that doesn't have a vested interest that can definitely give you some good advice. I hope this was useful. Make sure to like and or share this if you know somebody else that could use this content. If you have any additional questions, do feel free to reach out to me or my team at any point, or leave some comments below. Again, I want to see what's perfect in this world, so tell me what's up. All right. Again, I'm Tim Whittemore, your local professional and or local expert and professional, and your enthusiastic professional. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Come on, end. Jeez.